All right. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whoever, what is the time that you're calling in from. This is another issue, as it were, of Beyond the Code podcast. I'm Miguel, and with me are my habitual hosts. Over to you guys.
Oh, hi, I'm Armando. Hi, and we are trying a new thing, to look pretty. We have implemented a theme inspired in our guest from today, which will go by that. But let's move to. I'm going to move to that side to Ruben. Ruben, please introduce yourself
Hello,
because no
guys.
one
This
knows.
is yeah. This is Ruben from St. Petersburg, and now, of course, passing the ball to our special guest,
Yeah.
Joost.
Hello, Joost. Joost,
Hello. Am I
how
the
are
first
you?
for? I'm fine, but am I the first foreigner even on
No,
this?
No,
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 you are the
absolutely
first
not.
you have
Dutch.
not seen our episodes.
I'm
Yeah.
not going to say that. I'm not allowed to. I'm under the NDA for that.
And
Uh, does your
so
boss
we
know you're here instead of working?
Yeah, but it's on my part-time day off even. So I'm actually instead of having fun with my kids, I decided to join this podcast.
So you
So,
decided to have
so
fun with a different kind
with
of kids.
other kids,
yeah, with
exactly.
Yes,
other kids, yeah.
exactly.
These ones actually misbehave more than your own kids, I'm sure.
I have no idea why Ruben's window is just going crazy. But yeah, it's going
Yeah.
crazy. So technical difficulties, everybody. Woo-hoo. Okay,
Yeah, well,
carry on while
our
I
man
fix
from
this.
Russia is having technical difficulties. So basically, we are very happy to have Joost, who's someone that I've known from the community for a long time, and a very interesting person with a very interesting, professional experience, history, and if you get to sit down with him and a couple of beers, just generally a very interesting and fun guy. So we decided, and it's due time that we would have a Dutchie on the program. Speaking of which, in case you were wondering, you see, I've got my I See Dutch People T-shirt. So there's in kudos to our guest.
I'm
So
going to
Joost,
censor this part.
we're going to cut off the product placement, right? Okay, yeah. So Joost, tell us a little bit about yourself, man. Your story so far.
Well, that's yeah. It's a long time ago that I started working in IT, and it's basically it was also due to a evening with beer and vodka. I ended up in a company. But indeed, 12 years ago, I believe, I was forced by my current employee to use OutSystems, and I was very reluctant to do it because I found that low code sucks and you need to build it yourself.
You can
It's
say
C
that.
sharp. Yeah.
Like a
So
man,
prior to
like
that,
a
you were
man,
using what,
and a
C
woman,
sharp?
of course.
Sorry?
Your experience up until that point had been C sharp or other technologies as well, or?
Well, yeah. Okay. I'm trying to be diplomatic here, but I found myself always as a IT worker. Because Java, Pascal, assembly, PHP,
So
Cold
you
Fusion,
just do whatever
Okay.
needs to be done.
Yeah.
yes, and
Yes.
somebody, if there was a strange language that needs to be fixing for Fortran or whatever, then they pulled me out. Yeah, you can do it.
Can you
So
fix
But
the Dutch language
no.
for me?
no.
Oh, by the way, Miguel has been having some Dutch lessons, so later today he's going to show us what he has learned so far. But
Yeah.
question to our guest based on
Zeker.
those. Oh, I can work in all the languages. So my question for you is, have you ever worked with brainfuck?
No.
What's
Oh,
that?
sorry that I was not allowed to say only. I'm not aware of that.
Really? Okay,
No.
so everybody, you should take a look at the Wikipedia page on brainfuck. Very interesting language. But please carry on. Tell us your story. No, Ruben, I'm just.
Is that
getting
similar
tired
as
of Ruben.
similar as the white space language?
I've heard of the white space language.
No,
I don't think.
I'm just going to spend the whole session fixing Ruben's.
Wow. Brainfuck is an esoteric programming language
Exactly.
created in 1993.
Yeah, it's
Okay.
like
It's
dots
notable for
and
its extreme minimalism. Wow.
it
Cool.
fucks your
Let's look
brain.
into that.
That really fucks your brain. So, if you see the other
Ah,
world,
yeah, that's a little bit like the white space, because the white spaces are for the carriage returns and all those, and then you have also a language, and you cannot see it.
yeah, or you can say brain fucker, or you can also use Lisp. Lisp is pretty much the same. It's like the curly braces hell.
Yeah. Or even the normal braces, hell, not curly. But anyway,
Whatever.
over to
Braces hell. Yeah,
we
over to our
interrupt
guest.
Joost when he was in flight into kicking and screaming towards low code.
Yes, and then a certain person, which you all know, that was Mario Araujo.
Araújo?
Araujo, yeah. I cannot pronounce the Portuguese words anyway, so that's. But he was. We had an in-house training, and he was so enthusiastic about it that he basically convinced me that I should like low code and OutSystems. Hence, I gave him the FES, because he was the personal responsible that I actually liked OutSystems
All right.
and still like OutSystems.
But
Here, a reference to the people. So there's a very known Fez hat that's doing the rounds at OutSystems that was formally presented with great pomp and circumstance by Joost to Mario. I think, was it 2 years ago, right?
Yeah.
Odyssey.
What do you see? Yeah. So, but at that time, was it just you who was, a victim of Mario, or there was a bunch of people in your company, or?
A bunch of people. There was basically an in-house bootcamp, and the other MVP, Evert, was also present at the time.
All right, cool. And so basically, I think when you were mentioning your language, you mentioned Cold Fusion, which probably was what you were most involved with at the company at the time, which is still your company, CoProfs, right?
No. Cold Fusion was also of my previous company. So
Okay.
Because there, at my previous company, I did everything, even soldering parts of a machine. So.
Oh, that's cool.
A hardware guy.
Yeah, no hardware guy.
So
But I was never into hardware. No.
Why not?
The red ring of death.
I'm a
Yeah,
PlayStation
I have
guy.
a 360. I have an old 360 with the red ring of death. But you're a boss now, right?
I'm a boss.
You're skipping a few chapters.
Okay.
Let's go a little bit more into this phase. So basically, from my understanding, this was ended up being a strategic investment of CoProfs at that time, right? Tell us a little bit about the genesis of the group, OutSystems group within the company.
Well, basically, CoProfs wants to have a model-driven languages. And they had previously they were based upon CoolGen, hence the name CoolProfs. Yes, there's a little bit because they were not very creative in the name. Sorry, that boss. But indeed, after 10 years, I believe they decided you cannot bet on one horse, so they wanted to have another horse, and they actually were looking at Mendix. And but for some reason, I don't know the exact details, they ended up with OutSystems instead of Mendix.
But when you took the bootcamp, was it still an ongoing decision, or by that time there had already been a decision to go with this language?
No, there was that one at that time. There was the decision was made to do with OutSystems, and then the ball was rolling that we have to speed up immediately a couple of developers, and then delivery manager at that time, and an engagement manager at that time. And then within 2 weeks, I believe, we also started our first project within a full force. In 7 weeks, we did a project, also with Evert and me and some other guys, Joop and Schulke, and we even got an award for that. So.
Oh, that's quite cool. So you were dropped on the deep end in like 2 weeks of you probably thinking, yeah, this is bullshit, and then in 7 weeks you actually had a project delivered.
Yes.
Okay, so
So
was it
that's how awesome we are.
But wait a minute. In
despite
what
the language?
year was this?
In what year? Yeah, then there was when the steam locomotive was just out.
There was
No,
no
I believe
corona
it
back
10 years
then.
ago. It was in, I think we had a bootcamp in 4.2, and I think we did the project in 5.0.
Okay, so it was on the crossing the boundary time.
Yeah.
Okay. So did you still work with 4.2 and that lovely Visual Basic version of Service Studio then?
Yes.
Okay. Did you
So,
hate it to bits?
every bit of it.
Okay. Nice.
But
Yeah.
You know, I'm not
not
sure. I'm going to tell. I'm going to tell what I'm seeing here. What I'm seeing here is one Service Studio developer. You were probably a developer of Service Studio at the time. You were working for Outsystems,
Yeah, very much
most likely.
so. I'm
Asking one user what he does feel about the work he's made. You see? And
Exactly.
apparently the developer is kind of getting crushed because the user didn't like his work.
Yeah, but the developer at that time would be crushed because maybe he couldn't see the wood for the trees. But in hindsight, yes, it was a very difficult project to make it good. Even if I was, a good developer at the time, which I wasn't. So exactly. So I don't know, but actually later on, when I met Joost in a different capacity, he already complained all that he just said and more at that time about Service Studio. So I'm already kind of used to, and he's right. So, but so this.
But
this
can I ask the question on regarding that? Why did you decided on building Service Studio in Visual Basic?
Okay.
Because I never, in my experience, in my IT experience, Visual Basic was really much for toy
Excel macros?
products.
Yeah, for is and
Yeah, for
Excel macros.
example,
Okay.
yeah.
So there's the reason is when our system started in 2001, and it started by developing Service Studio. .NET was still in draft, and I think while some of the framework for the non-visual things was more or less stable, the UI part of it, so Windows Forms, etc., was just all over the place in 2001. So the IDE needed to be implemented in what was available. Actually, the decision, as old as I am, the decision to use VB is actually older than me, because there's other people that have been around the ecosystem even more than me. So, but the decision was that one. We need to have the IDE. VB6 is okay-ish. And we just jumped into it, even though as much as I know, neither Rodrigo Coutinho nor Lucio actually had any preference specifically for VB. So at that time, I think they were considering using Delphi even. But I guess someone flipped a coin and went for VB, and the rest is history.
It could be worse.
But not by a big margin, no. So there you go. So now you know the reason for imposing this kind of pain to yourselves and to the actual developers. And so when did it start, like the penny dropping that there may be some value to this simplified approach to coding?
Good question. That's a little bit hard. Well, it reminds me of a how do you call it? I had well, it made me easier that I did not have to do stuff, cumbersome stuff like data model or the data model wrappers and such. Because there was a time at a previous project, there was we had a label gen. I don't know if you know that, for example, but that was basically it extracted the data, the SQL data model, and then it put up the whole ADO stuff around it. So we did not have to do anything about it. that was great. But then suddenly we got a new developer, and he said, "That is shit. We have to rebuild it ourselves." And I mean, why? It's built. We push a button. It's getting generated. I don't have to worry about getting a list or accessing, updating, creating, deleting objects in the database. So why bother? No. I can make it faster. And then I really thought, oh man, that is not me. I'm lazy. And yeah, OutSystems is for me pretty much. I can have fun with complex problems instead of doing creating wrappers or creating containers, building itself. So
do I understand correctly that you say that OutSystems is for lazy developers?
yes, that is correct.
Okay. I always pitch it as pragmatic developers, but yeah, I'll take lazy. Fits.
Yeah. Okay, but
Come on,
back
Armand.
to the
Tell
back
us
to
what
the
you think.
interesting back to the interesting topic. So I'm expecting that the next podcast we'll have, I need to have a 4.2 demo of OutSystems.
No. You want to have a 4.1, because if you think that 4.2 is bad, try 4.1.
So 4.2 at least already had Ajax. So that's where Ajax appeared.
Okay. Because I started
And-
working in version 8.
Oh, you spoiled brat. I knew
yeah.
you were a spoiled brat.
Completely.
So I would like that would be interesting. That would be interesting to get kind of an overview of what happened from the beginning of the world to version 11.
You just have to imagine a very dark place full of bugs where you go and you just try to do something, but it's like bugs all around and explosions. Well, that's 4.1 and below.
And
So
bugs that
any
use our
project you
animals
work in?
and the errors.
Sorry, what did you say?
It was asking for like a dark place, and I was just asking if it's like any project he works in. And now you would hear that.
Yeah, we need to have a really
I
short
need
right?
to work on the sound effects.
So now you got the nice framing. Everyone that's watching, in due time, we'll raise our budget to actually have sound effects.
We accept donations
Okay.
and iPads, but mostly donations.
Mostly donations, absolutely. So
But it would be actually cool to have if it's even possible still, that you can create an application in 5.1 or 4.1. Because
No, you can. You just need a community edition. You need to find the executable for a community edition that I might still have it and install it.
Yeah, because the community edition run locally, right? So you could still play around with that.
Yeah, this
but you do
version 8, so.
But you do have to downgrade Internet Explorer, I believe, because Internet Explorer is a bit hassle.
Yeah, because the VB6 depending on like the IE DLLs in the operating system. So yeah, so that's probably the case indeed. Yeah. So anyway, you were sort of saying. So there was this initial project, and basically I don't know if it was like everyone on the boot camp pretty much was in there, because nowadays and progressively, the number of OutSystems people, both in the Netherlands and specifically at Coprofs has grown. And when did this second horse become kind of an important horse for Coprofs? When does it became apparent that it was a horse worth investing, as it were?
That I don't know. That was that was a little bit before me. But after that bootcamp, we did much groundworking in trying to get the ball starting. And it really, I think it was a couple of years, I believe. Then it suddenly exploded. But basically, it was it was a little bit small at the beginning, really small. It was really hard to gain ground at that time.
how was the landscape, well, outside of your four walls? How was the landscape of the opportunities as it, for low code and specifically for OutSystems? Was this a very missionary effort at that time from you guys?
Totally,
Okay.
because it was at the time that only the energy companies were OutSystems and the rest did not. Because in the Netherlands we do not like licenses. I already know that for a couple of years now, but licenses are a bad word for some reason.
But at the time, it was not licenses, right? At the time, it was one-time purchase.
No, it was also a license.
It was already licensed
Yeah, I believe so.
because the licensing system changed. Well, changed so many times; it's constantly changing. But but at the time, I think it was maybe they were still shifting from perpetual licenses to yearly licenses.
Could have been. Yeah, because I'm with you, Ruben. I would think it was about that time that the perpetual licenses started being phased out. So I think when Joost did join, it was already phased out. So there were still clients using, I don't know, version 3.0, whatever, with a perpetual license. But if you were to look at something like that these days, it would be positively, ancient. So yeah, so there's the trade-off over there. Okay, so
I'm pretty sure because I was in 5.1, I believe. I had a project at that time was C1000. It's now Jumbo, but I also had to distribute like the Albert Heijn or the multiple licenses, multiple platform services. So
I'm
Okay.
too young for this conversation.
yeah, you're too young. Period.
Started in 8.
but at least you have
Come
hair.
on.
Yeah, at least at least you have hair.
I still have some.
Yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't have curtains, but he has hair.
I can
Sorry.
have everything.
No, you can't. No. All right. So, but you were saying so initially in the landscape over here was only like the very big guys. Was it the fact that it was only the big guys who could afford, or was it only the big guys who had the vision to jump into this crazy train, which was OutSystems?
I don't know. That's really I think it was just not like we had the habit to use. It was either build yourself or build it or buy it. But the low code that was an in between, and yeah, that was not that was totally unknown in the Netherlands, I believe.
Okay. And do you have any idea how was low code outside of OutSystems perceived? Because to be honest, I don't know too much of the history of Mendix, for example. But was it like Mendix already, fair bit more visible than OutSystems in the Netherlands, or?
No clue. Absolutely no clue. Because I basically before I went to Coolprofs, I was 10 years in a company and we did not know about low code at all. So that was basically building C#, C++ stuff. So build it yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And small parts of generators. That was a little bit, yeah.
Yeah. So I'm guessing that at that time, well, you guys kind of banked on each other within the company to learn stuff off, right? What was your experience of, going beyond the basics? I mean, was there a community of any shape or form in OutSystems, or when did you start seeing a community where you could talk with people from other companies?
That is the initial start with the bits and bytes, I believe. That's it was called, because then at that time I have no clue who the community manager was anymore. Was that Mario also? No.
Probably
I think
Paul
might
Tavares,
have
right?
been yes. It was Paul Tavares then Mario, or it was Mario then Paul Tavares?
Yeah, I think officially Paul Tavares might have been the official first community manager, or someone who had a business card that said something like that. I think Mario did it more informally a little bit. So I think it might have been like Paul Tavares, and this maybe, what was it, like 9 years ago? Almost 10 years ago? Yeah. something like that. Yeah. Then he moved on to other things, and actually this is the cue where I kind of
Exactly.
was
The
yes.
dark times of
There's a-
Miguel.
No, these were actually fairly
Good.
light times because when I moved a little bit from being just a developer to actually, going on a stage and talking to the developers that were using the product that I did, I think it was indeed a very eye-opening and tear-inducing experience. Yeah, and I could certainly count on the Dutchies to be the guys who were the most vocal tear inducers of them all. So this is when I get into the scene with Joost, and we started interacting a little bit. This must have been like what 8 years ago or something like that, right?
Yep, I
Yeah,
think so.
and indeed, it was in these first bits and bytes, which was probably the seed for the community events, the what we have now, the meetups. How often were they? It was like once a year or twice a
No,
year.
there was I believe every 3 months or something like that. But it was quite like everything. The first a couple of times it was quite nice. But then you can also see the resemblance, or the how do you call it? How big it was in the Netherlands, because after a while we all knew each other and such. So it was actually a really small, tiny community.
You remember how many people were back in those initial bits and bytes ballpark number?
Yeah, I think 30 at least, because I think.
And do you still see some of the non co-profs guys around in the community, right? I mean, we still see some of them, right?
Yeah, sure. That's totally.
Yeah, actually, quite a few of them, right? Like Remco and Eric Oudamerveld, and
Yes,
yeah, I think.
And the other MVP, not from. No, there are a couple of MVPs as well, Dutch MVPs.
Okay, yeah. So, one, if I can put a bridge here, as a community manager over that period, I did notice, like the contributions for the Forge, because at that time, the Forge was also, picking up pace. A lot of the contributions actually for the Forge came from the Netherlands. So the Dutch community, complained a lot. That has to be said, but they also contributed and chipped in a lot.
We speak with our heart. We speak with our heart.
Exactly. This is not an improvement, and whoever is listening, some people, the old guys will know what we're talking about here. And why would you say this? Because there was a period indeed where the ratio of contribution from the Netherlands was very high to the number of people that indeed were working here. Do you put this down to so this is a sociological bit where you can go crazy and say, why would the Dutch contribute a lot to a foreign company's Forge for free?
Yeah, well, I think that's because at the beginning there was nothing. I mean, now there is plenty, and what can we contribute at the moment? Because I find lately, it's been built.
Mm-hmm. But even then there wasn't much, right? So, but I did notice that a lot of people, for example, from Portugal, wouldn't contribute. I'm guessing because they thought, well, this small component is a competitive advantage for me. But from I would read from from the Dutch contribution that you mostly didn't see those components as being competitive advantages. That's why you put them online. Do you have any thoughts on that? Am I overthinking it?
Yes.
I don't want yes answers. It was you that was saying no yes answers, right?
Yes, do explain, Armando.
Yeah.
No. I'm just answering on my behalf. And by the way, the yes or no answers were for our Dutch friend. Because
but
that's the
you
Dutch
should
way.
set an example, man.
I can set an example.
We open the door to yes answers, and where's this all gonna end?
I can give my take on that if you want. Not really from the old days when the dinosaurs were still a thing, but from nowadays. Well, if the component, it's like, let's say, it's a small thing. Okay, it's a small thing. It's a very specific functionality that it's not really related to a specific business trait or something like that. Then yes, probably it goes to the Forge. But if you start to think about some more enterprise grade components, let's say you build a whole payment solution ready, completely integrated with a payment provider for mobile web and so on. Probably you are not going to put that in the Forge because that will indeed give you some kind of a competitive advantage. Okay, so it's kind of finding the balance between um, what could be useful, okay, what could be useful to the community, and in fact it's something that someone could quickly make or something like that, and enterprise grade components that take a lot of time, a lot of effort, and that in the end will mean a lot of money.
Yeah, but the thing is the Forge, and I'm even curious, by the way, guys, I was trying to remember what was the name of the Forge before being Forge, because I remember that the name was changed, and at the time it was like Forge. What is a Forge? But it was only thought to be like a place where you share like small components, because what you are describing is actually a solution. It's a
Exactly.
hand in key. No, fuck. What's the name?
Yeah,
It's
turnkey.
a turnkey solution, and that definitely, out my opinion, would be not the place for Forge, because well, nowadays the Forge for sure doesn't have any mechanism to allow you to protect your code or to allow you to actually leverage that. The maximum that you could do is to put there a sample that uses a broken sample that uses that component, and that points out to a sample page where you actually show the behavior of the component, being the Forge has the entry point to sell your own turnkey product. So,
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah, and I
but
think
yeah,
that's why we Dutch, because we never because most Dutch companies are actually consultancy, so we don't get our money from products. We get our money because we have an hourly fee. Yeah, and then for example, if you do fixed price projects or something like that, yeah, then it's easy to have Forge components for free, and then you have
Yeah.
then you earn the money.
Yeah. Yeah, but would you say that, or have you observed that, for example, the visibility that yourself or Avert or other people in your company get from having components could be a conversation starter indeed for opportunities that are of consultancy? Or have you never seen any correlation there?
No, not really. It's more about depending on the. I think for the projects, if someone, can you do this? Yeah, of course we can do that. But
Okay.
that's the showcases of Google Maps, for example. But really, it's small set of things that Autisms does not have out of the box, and then you revert to the Forge.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
well, my take on that on the Forge, and this is a, by the way, an ongoing discussion between MVPs, because we have a forum, we discuss what we think or we give our opinions on that, and the Forge is indeed like Joost. Sorry if I misspelled your
almost,
name.
almost,
Almost
almost.
Joost.
Yes,
Better,
better.
better.
Right.
Oh, oh. So, like Joost was saying, it's a place that covers or that tries to complement the platform. So the platform doesn't go as far. So the Forge complements the low code, so makes the platform continuing to be more low code. So I'd say that for Autisms, it's all about that. It's not about anything else. But like Armando said, it's many of the components, even components that I've been putting, even nowadays, for example, I've been creating components for reactive web applications to just leverage the sensors, and it's small components, but took me like 1 week or 2 weeks of work to actually to put it in a low code and so on. And I know that I'm putting there, and I'm not going to get anything from that. Just sharing with the community, just helping the community, just helping people to build better applications. And clearly, a solution like a payment solution that Armando was saying is not something for 2 weeks. It's something for months to actually to have something that is low code, that's compatible, that's easy to use, that it's of course by itself complex. Well,
Mhm.
yeah.
But my take is, for example, you reap like intrinsic satisfaction for doing that sort of thing, or kudos, if you like, and I guess this is probably what moves the people that contribute to do the same thing. I was just trying to understand if there was a cultural difference whereby the intrinsic satisfaction of sharing something is more immediate in a culture like the Netherlands versus in other cultures that would justify the initial ratio. I mean, nowadays we do see tons of contributions from all over the place, all over the world. So and plus I'm not observing it anymore as I used to. So I don't know if there's obvious ratios, but it seems to be a little bit more widespread. But really, in the early 2000s, the ratio coming from here because I'm in the Netherlands, seemed to be surprisingly high.
But is that not due to the fact that in the 10 years ago there were only two countries that was having OutSystems, and that was the Netherlands and Portugal.
Yeah, but I'm comparing with to the space that was at the time. So there was a lot more people in Portugal already vested into OutSystems, but I would say that the sense of sharing for kudos was a lot less prevalent there. So yeah, I don't know, but this is probably would take into a very complex and lengthy discussion about cultures and backgrounds and stuff like that.
Perhaps the Portuguese are more pragmatic, as you call it.
No.
No, I don't know.
Nah.
No, certainly not. So, but you were talking about like the consultancy and what is effectively the business model for cool profs, or for. Can you tell us a little bit about what is the structure of the offer that you guys currently have? What's more frequent, and is this like representative of in the Netherlands? So, for example, do you find that mostly you provide developers to end clients just for that? You provide full working teams. How does that work within co-profs?
Well, I think a little bit of the same as your company. It's just providing a solution to the business, to the customer.
Okay.
And whether that is just a handyman or a full project, or even, but we try to give them a solution for the problem they have, and not for the problem they don't have. But really the solution, and that can be from business analysts to project managers and everything else. But we really want to solve their problems.
So you fit the shoe to their foot, as it were.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. Do you
agile?
Yeah, agile even in the scoping and the sizing.
Of course.
Absolutely. Yeah. So do you have any perception? Because a lot of the times what the clients ask us is not necessarily what, from our experience, we think would be the ideal setup. And this is a question for globally to all of you guys. Do you feel that when from the weight of your own experience, what are the scenarios that sometimes following what the client asks of us isn't really what they need for success of their project?
100% of the times.
Okay, so give us one example of the 100%. Like where was this a mismatch? Without mentioning names to protect the innocent.
No, okay, but it's like a kind of a known thing that there's a huge disconnection between what the client think he wants, or what the client thinks he wants, versus what he really needs. Okay, so I think that's where the difference lies between good developers and great developers. Good developers just do what they are told, and great developers try to understand exactly what's at stake, except Ruben. what's at
Thank
stake,
you.
and
I'll take it as a compliment.
try to understand the business before going into the technical part of it. And now I have to resize this window again. Why did you have to screw this up? So yeah, that's pretty much
But
it. You want a real
but
example? Yeah, no, I'm not going to give you a
no
real
no no.
example.
Yeah,
But
I meant it more. Yeah.
but I was actually going to comment one thing that you were saying, Roman, which is the difference between a developer and a great developer. What you are adding there to developer is actually a little bit context. It's a little bit beyond being a developer, right? So what you
Agree.
are saying, if I understand correctly, is being a good developer is actually not being just a developer.
Yes, you need to understand the business
Exactly, and,
because
and the
otherwise your
context.
solution is just going to suck.
So is it this the difference between a developer and a technical consultant, or do you think these are actually the same things, just a fancier name?
Well, that's a tricky question. That's a tricky question because, well, there are companies, and I've worked for companies where there are clear boundaries in terms of, let's say, career progression. Okay, in which you can try to focus more on the business. You can just try to focus more on the technical side, and then you can just pick one of those. But I think this works well or works better for non-low code solutions or non-low code technologies. Because when you are using, let's say, a solution like OutSystems, I never tried Mendix, so I really don't know how it works. But when you use something like OutSystems, you have the ability to focus more on the business because you spend less time, or theoretically you should spend less time developing, and you have lots of things already built, so you have free time, which is actually not free time, to learn the business and to understand the business and to make the connection between what the client says he wants and the client really needs. Okay,
Mhm.
when you are working with other technologies like .NET, Java, C, C++, and so on, in which the make it or break it sometimes or most of the times also relies in the way you build things, because that's one thing that's kind of, show it, whatever. Um, with low-code technologies. So yeah, I think that's where the difference lies. But we have some comments from our viewers that says we have Nuno saying that technology
Wait, we have
consultant.
viewers.
Yes.
Well, oh my God! Let's pop the champagne.
Okay. So we have two we have some interesting comments. We have Vera. You remember the game?
Yeah, the
Oh,
game.
but
So I'm not a don't. So several negatives in the
Yes.
sentence. Yes, we love you, Vera. We're just joking.
We not. She's saying that developers solve problems, and to solve problems, you need to understand the business problems, which makes sense. And then we have Nuno Reis. He's saying technology consultant knows technology, business analyst knows business. A great developer is a bit of both. So, kind of, yes, I agree to some extent. I'll let you guys speak. Oh, and very same guy, by the way.
So do you
Yeah,
want
but
to
it's
unpack
back.
this one, Joost?
Yeah, but it's back to that. Yeah, I'm no, don't well, as you already know, that I'm not. I don't have a big vocabulary, and that's a lazy programmer. A lazy programmer is I don't want to program. Ergo, I want to understand what the business wants. And if I don't disagree, if I disagree with it, then I don't programming it. I'm not developing it. So
But
I
that's
always thought a lazy programmer was a programmer that was trying to do the exact same thing with the least effort possible.
yeah,
that's one way of going. Yeah.
that's one way. Yeah.
But then, guys, are we then not like? And this is going to be a bit outrageous. are we not going into low code because we actually secretly would like to be analysts? Because I mean, I do see what Nunu's point is. I mean, there's going to come a point whereby we still are bound by 40 hours working week if it's sane. So even if we can make up for a lack of a business analyst, a dedicated business analyst will always find out things that we can't. And so while I understand the laziness suggestion by saying, okay, I can finish in 4 hours and then go and play with my kids for the other 4 hours, but I'm still a coder. That's pure lazy. On our case, it seems like I can do it in 4 hours, so I can moonlight as an analyst on the other ones. Are we in the wrong business then?
I would like to
Yes.
reply to that.
Please.
And I would reply actually with a question, which is,
That's a proper business analyst.
imagine that we are a writer. We are writing books. And before we were writing with a pen. And now we have a computer with autocomplete. So we can go faster. Does it mean that because we can go faster, we are going to be better writers?
Depends on your definition of better.
Greater, because greater developer, greater writer.
I
Because
think
we are
what you're
talking
saying
about,
is,
of course, depends on the definition, yeah.
I think what you're saying is the act of being a great writer is coming up with the overarching story, not committing necessarily the letters to the page. That's where you're trying to get at, right?
It's more like, it's not about the speed. Low code here is actually irrelevant. Low code doesn't make us a good developer, a great developer, a developer, a great developer, or a great developer, a developer. Low code is irrelevant. Low code is just a language, has any other, faster than others, but just a language. It's irrelevant to the question. What makes it great? I think that the more I think on it, the more I, of course, agree with what Armando was saying, which is great. It's about context. It's about understanding. It's about something that is not interrelated into pretty code or fast code. No, it's the nuances. It's the soul of the code.
Okay,
Yeah.
can we move away from the boring topics? Because we have like
Actually,
12 minutes left.
yeah. So what are the non-boring topics then?
Okay, so the first thing I would like to ask.
First,
yeah,
Oh,
first
stroopwafel.
language.
Yay!
Stroopwafel.
Stroopwafels.
Stroopwafel.
Yeah,
Nope.
you have to open your mouth for the A. So, stroopwafels. You see, stroopwafels. Okay, so Andrea, if you're seeing this, stroopwafels for you. Okay, so my question to our guest is, what's your favorite stroopwafels recipe?
He's probably never cooked one in his life, right?
If there's one that would contain Guinness.
Okay,
Oh.
okay.
Oh,
That
I see a
answers,
business opportunity here, guys.
yeah, that answers the second question that I was going to ask, if it's still Guinness or it would have moved away to Heineken. Apparently still Guinness.
No.
Heineken, you can stuff it in the well.
I think it's the missionary position of beers.
Yeah, we could do that.
But I like that idea of the Guinness. We should move to that industry, right, guys? And this podcast could be beyond
The
the
beer?
fudge, beyond the fudge, because that's currently what you put in the stroopwafels that you can buy. And if we start getting Guinness in, we can still you can still keep this URL and not lose all the 2 viewers we have.
No,
Subscribers.
okay. I don't want to sound mean, but at this point we have 8 viewers. Okay, 8 people are
no
watching.
way.
Yeah,
Cool.
I have 5 sessions open, so that doesn't count. But
Fair enough.
nah, I'm just joking. I'm just
So
joking.
thanks to the other three for being around. Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, we already know that Miguel actually tells it's like a task for his developers, like you have to watch
Yeah,
this.
it's a KPI. Yeah, I'm gonna rate my colleagues on that.
Okay. So how many colleagues do you have in your company?
Wait, me?
Yes.
We're 35, including myself.
So 35 with yourself. Okay. So 34. Why do we just have 8 viewers? Who's going to be fired?
Well,
But
we
but
also have a very
wait,
diverse landscape, and I can only impose my presence to the codees. I don't impose my presence to the product owners, the analysts, the UXers. Certainly not to the CEO. Well, I sometimes have to because that's how you run a company. But other than that,
but Armand, notice that
Yes.
today we have two CTOs. So
Yes.
two CTOs that are not doing well their job in putting their developers
No,
here.
no, 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 no. This is interesting because now we can close the loop to the beginning when I was saying, "Oh, but you're a boss." Okay, because when I asked if his boss knew he was here, I was expecting him to tell me, "Yes, because I'm my own boss." That would be a proper answer, a proper Dutch answer.
Yes,
No,
of course, but it's my own time.
it's your own
yeah,
time. Okay.
He's
yeah,
on
We
vacation.
appreciate your time.
we
Okay,
should
we
have done this on a Tuesday or something like that. Then to make it complicated, and then there would be a hard choice here for Joost. Would he be doing good productive work, or would he just be chilling out with a lot of us, right?
Are you saying this is not good productive work?
Are you saying it is?
Yes.
Okay, fair enough. Your mileage may vary.
Okay, okay.
So, but picking up the CTO line, I mean, and I think we still have a couple of minutes for that, which maybe for Joost will be more than enough. How has your life changed now that you have, well, this other title? How does your week change?
Basically nothing. I can do now what I want, and that's innovative things. So that's a good thing. The downside is that I get spammed by digital transformation people who think that I don't do digital transformation or something like that. So my LinkedIn is exploding, and that's annoying. But besides that, yeah, it's quite nice. And now I actually have to. Well, I I always think that my boss is actually put me in this place together with Jeroen. Oh, by the way, I'm partly CTO. Is that I cannot bitch about it anymore because then now I have to do it. So
Yes.
Oh,
yeah.
your boss is a wise man,
Hold on. A wise woman.
a
Woman.
wise woman.
Yes.
Yes, yes.
Camille,
Yes.
Sorry,
Camille.
sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, Camille. Yeah, sorry, Camille. I'm an old guy. I still remember the people of my age,
Yeah.
the guys before, top notch people.
Do you want
Yeah.
do you
So
want me to fade you out slowly?
Yeah,
like into
he's
the
becoming
distance.
legacy now. Yes.
Yeah,
Yes,
it's
he's
becoming
becoming
busy.
legacy. Okay, okay. You were going to ask something interesting, right? No.
I am? No, not
No,
really.
okay. So I'm going to ask something interesting. What do you think of Verstappen chances for this year? What do you think of 2 races in Austria, and what do you think Ferrari will do with the driver swaps?
The driver shop, I have no clue, but I feel sad, and I get now. I actually like Leclerc at the moment, but that's because of his virtual racing incident with his girlfriend. I like that.
Oh yeah, okay. So I'm going to. These two guys
Ruben, do you have any idea
have
what
no
guys are
idea
talking
what
about?
you're talking
Yeah,
about.
No,
but
I'm
that's
seeing both
I'm
passing
going
by.
to put you to the speed, which is coronavirus. So we are both Formula One fans. So they stopped Formula One races at least until 2.5 weeks from now. Um,
Huh.
so real Formula One drivers started to streaming virtual races, up to the point in which one Ferrari driver, which is Charles Leclerc, was so focused on racing that his girlfriend had to buy a subscription on Twitch so we could send a message to him to say, I'm on the outside, please open the door, because he could not hear the bell, neither the phone.
Is that for real or is it the
Yes,
nervous?
Yeah,
this
that
is
is for
not.
real.
This is for
Oh
real.
gosh, I have some googling to do. And
Now
it's
I'll
not
send you the link if I
okay.
Wait,
find
did,
it.
And
did
we
that
need to
start?
put the link underneath, right, as well, because that's what people who do these things that actually know what they're doing. They say,
Yeah, you have to.
click here and subscribe and blah. Then we'll put the link here.
Yeah, we don't subscribe people.
Wait, did that start the TikTok thing of
The second project now.
girlfriends distracting boyfriends from gaming?
No, I don't think so.
Oh, okay.
But I also have no clue what you're doing or talking about.
Yeah.
Oh, you don't know? Oh, it's
No.
Yes,
like
yeah.
there's
I am, but I'm always. But that's what a CTO role is. That I'm always up to
To
speed
keep up
for
with the
everything.
memes.
Yeah.
To keep up with the memes.
digital transformation.
Oh,
TikTok
okay.
for you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
But in
I'm-
any case, Verstappen wins with his 2 fingers in his nose, as we say in the Dutchland.
So you need to explain that one because it doesn't translate
Ah.
easily to other languages.
With easy peasy, it's easy within a breeze he wins without having a sweat.
Yes.
It's
Okay.
2 fingers in the nose.
As in presumably because you don't even need to breathe to do it. Is
Yeah.
that it?
Yeah.
All right. Okay.
He can
Cool.
basically he can sleep and he wins.
Okay. So
Yeah.
we have 3 minutes left, and I wanted to do one last thing. Remember the Dutch lessons Miguel was having? I want Miguel to say something in Dutch. Okay, like
Oh
say
my God.
goodbye to our Dutch viewers in Dutch, and I
Okay.
would like Joost to classify his Dutch. Can you do it?
No, but it cannot be goodbye. Goodbye is too easy. We have to give him
No,
a
no,
sentence.
but it's like a goodbye message, not like just
Okay. So
goodbye.
I'll say tot volgende keer allemaal.
Not bad. It seems not
Okay-ish?
bad.
It's
Oh.
not bad, not bad. It's it's a Portuguese pronunciation. So
Okay. But at
the
least you
G,
understood.
yeah, I understood it, and het is tot de volgende keer allemaal.
Tot volgende keer allemaal.
I'm not even going to try.
So yeah, for the non-cultured people who don't know any Dutch, that's until next time, everyone.
Stroopwafel. I know
Stroopwafel.
stroopwafel.
Yeah.
And
Geen idee.
I've
a good one.
learned Zandvoort.
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 Almost.
Almost, yeah. I took like
Okay.
2 full days to properly say or kind of properly say stroopwafel. So
To establish is not properly say, is to emit a sound that simulates.
yes, it works. Okay,
It works.
kind of. Okay, so
Okay.
any
So shall we
final
wrap, guys?
thoughts
Yeah.
you would like to share with us? Like any of you? No.
Thank you for having me.
Oh,
Now, do you
it
feel
was,
like your future career has been endangered by participating in such a podcast?
not in that way, of course.
We'll
Depends
see.
on the 8 viewers who they are.
10.
It's,
10.
That's true.
We have increased 25% in viewers.
Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah, but don't forget that actually this gets recorded.
Yes.
So
It gets
there's
recorded,
proof.
so people watch it afterwards. Yeah.
Yeah.
Kind
Same way
of.
that you can watch the Veras game again and
Yeah.
again
Yes.
and again.
We are
And still
probably
not
going
understand.
to do. We should probably do a special on that.
Just with that game.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
But
we
just-
invite a bunch of people and we just do that game.
Yeah, like
could do, yeah.
500 people Zoom meeting for
Cool.
that game.
Kahoot thing. Yeah, with Kahoot or something.
That's funny.
Yeah, we should do.
I'm sure that Very is very, very happy and is typing now in the chat as we speak. Like, yes, I'll coordinate the game.
Let's
All
just
right,
wait
so
30 seconds.
shall we wrap, guys?
Yes, let's just wrap up. I'm waiting for the message to see if it shows up.
Ruben, do you want to wrap?
To rap, I don't know how to rap.
Whoa.
I'm sorry. That was
Yeah.
But I could use a chicken wrap.
okay. Everyone, thank you so much for being here with us, especially Joost for joining us. It was a real pleasure, and all of this good conversation, good talks, and hopefully we'll get again to have this conversation and live, and we'll record it live with beer, cider
So,
for me.
yeah,
So it's
sounds good.
beyond
Geen bier voor jou? Oké.
yeah,
Oh,
so we'll name it a special beyond the, it's not going to be beyond the code, it's going to be beyond the work hours.
yeah, or beyond the malt.
Well, technically, if you're not, if you're looking at this, that is not working time, so you can't drink beer because it's not working.
Yeah, you're not working, but we still have work to do
So where's your
Yeah.
beer?
All right.
Where's your
I have
beer?
stroopwafels. Ik heb stroopwafels.
Oh, stroopwafels. Okay.
All right, guys. Then thanks
Oh,
everyone
by the
as
way,
well.
Vera said count me in. So I think it's
Ah,
I think it's a go.
absolutely.
I think it's a go. Okay, everybody. So bye bye. Thank you for watching. I think. Okay. And if you have missed any of the interesting action, just go check Twitter because Ruben would not stop tweeting to everybody about everything we were saying here, including stroopwafels. Now you
Okay.
can laugh. You can laugh.
Okay.
No.
I'm
Okay.
not
Okay.
sure.
You guys are going to see once we turn this off. Okay. From my side, thank you very much. Thank you, Joost, for joining us. Hope you have enjoyed and send some stroopwafels back to Portugal. Ruben, Miguel, thank you very much for your time and see you next time, everybody. Bye bye.
See you.
Bye bye.
Bye.